Um, the less I'm talking, the better we're doing in this meeting today. And it looks like people are still, oh, look at Jana's going to join us. That's good. So let me, Karen, did you want to finish what you were saying as far as to Robin, as far as the?
I was just, Robin, you can get a hold of me and I can get you in contact with them if you would like. And it's just KWILEY at Arts Council, FW for Fort Worth.org.
And just to follow that up, I did send out that email with everyone's contact information. Yeah. And I'll do the same thing here after this meeting as well. And so let me just go ahead and get started, and then we'll open it back up. Welcome everybody that has joined us. I've noticed that Tarrant County South Campus is well represented. We got Dean Gines, Dean Ansorge, and Josh Good. If maybe Dean Ansorge, if you'd like to say something, and maybe Dean Gines, if you guys would like to get us kicked off here, you're more than welcome. This is probably the last time I'll pause. So if you guys want to step in and say something, you're more than welcome to.
Scott, it's who are you kidding? You will never have the last word. Okay? No. It is what. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure. My name is Ernest Gines. I'm the Dean of Business and Technology. And I'd like to thank Scott and give him kudos working with David and other members of my team in really having a wonderful collaboration. And this started with just a simple conversation, and it has really taken hold and has really moved forward, and it has a lot of administrative support also. So again, thank you all for participating. And for those who are lucky and retired and really enjoying, that means you're getting bored. All right, but thank you very much for really helping us and the community help our students. So I will let Dr. Ansorge share some her words.
Good morning, everybody. I am here to support all of you, answer any questions that you might have, although I have a feeling that Scott is perfectly able to do that. I'm so excited by this endeavor, and I read an overview of everything that happened in the last minute, and this is great work. This is, I think, much needed in our community, and I'm thrilled that we are moving forward arts in education. So thank you for being here, and thank you for everything you're doing to help us move this forward.
Thank you, Dean Ansorge. Josh, you want to get us started with anything this morning, or are you still doing kindergarten class?
Well, we're on a break in kindergarten right now, so I think we're supposed to make introductory videos and have lunch, very early lunch. But I'm here. It's all exciting. Thank you all for being here, and I'll let you take over, Scott.
Okay, thanks, Josh. Yeah, I'm laughing because I don't know if you guys have kids in the house, but wow, we anyway, it's a whole thing. So those kids in school, we got them from 5 years old to 15. So we got we're in all the school districts right now. Okay, so great. And I'll tell you, Martha sent out an email last week, and I think that she hit it spot on as far as what we should be talking about today. And that's where I go back to, like I said, I really am not the one that should be talking today. It should be you guys. So please get in the mode where you're like, hey, I want to share who we are and what we're doing. And let me just, as what she was talking about, Martha's suggestion was that each one of you introduce yourselves again, and then give us an idea of what your artist selection criteria and process is. And and so let's start off with that so you guys can see who's all here. And like I said, just as a reminder, if anyone came late, I am recording, so just so that you know that. And two, I will make sure and send out contact information of everyone that participated last week and this week, so you guys know who everybody is and who's here. So actually, I'll just go down my list and let's just start. Robin, you were here bright and early. You want to start off and tell us about your program, your selection criteria and process for getting artists into the program?
Well, first of all, I want to say hi to everybody. And Land Passage Association for the Arts we've been going now for about 15 years. we were supposed to have our big 15-year celebration this year, and then COVID got us. And so we're kind of on a little temporary pause. But basically, we are a board of 15 people, and I forgot to mention last time that we work closely with the city of Lampasas. They're the ones that support us by providing us a 23-acre park that we have our sculpture in. And then we have some pieces around the city that we also place. The thing that's significant about that is that they're a great partnership. They help us. You know, over the years, we've managed to get lighting out there. And the park itself is located by one of the historic springs in Lampasas. And so it's a great setting, although everything's dried up right now, but not the spring, but the park. And they help us in numerous ways. They'll pour slabs for us. We've managed to do lighting. The whole park is, we have lighting. We have 1.5 miles of handicapped accessible sidewalks now that go throughout the park that are wide and really wonderful. People go out there and walk. It's a great venue to walk. We just recently, our pride and joy got a bathroom, which is something we really need. There's a pool that's located in the park, but you know, it's not public access to their bathroom. And so when we do our installs, of course, you know, we have to rent, you know, bathroom facilities. But, you know, so we just got our bathroom. We're so excited about it. I know that sounds kind of weird, but it's a big priority for us. Yeah, we have really, you want to know specifically kind of about our call. We do a call to artists every year. And, you know, we email them, we send them out by mail. We also get feedback from our other artists. We usually bring in about 6 new artists, and then we have a lot of art that's permanent, and people have donated art to us. And so we've been really fortunate in that respect. But so anyway, we send out a call, and we've never juried anything. So we don't bring in professional artists to do the jurying. We either have a committee, or we have, this past year, our board, we all decided, you know, what pieces we were going to select. People have to make an application. They have to submit a resume. You know, they have to agree by, you know, kind of our rules. And, you know, so anyway, we select the pieces and invite them. You know, we've talked about having it juried, but, you know, to be honest with you, we think we know our town best and kind of what goes here. And we've been really, really fortunate. We've had some really wonderful, wonderful pieces from all over the state, and actually from other states as well. And people come, and we install on one day. We've assembled a group of folks that have become excellent installers, and I'm going to get Scott in contact with our Chris Oldham, who's our welder. And, you know, over all these years, we finally talked to Chris, and we said, you know, really, after doing all this art, we think you need to submit something to the park. And so sure enough, he did. And so now he has an install in the park, but he's an expert, and he's got nice, big, beefy boys that are strong. And, you know, so we think also, as far as the artists go, it's really important that they get support. And that's critical, because if they don't, you know, I've had several of them tell me that they'll show up for installs and somebody just points and says, well, you're over you're over yonder. And, you know, that's about as much as they get. But we have great big machines and stuff that can lift all kinds of weight. When we have them fill out their application, of course, they give us all the dimensions and the weight, what the materials are. We will accept wood sculptures, however, we can't insure them. You know, and back to the city provides insurance to all the pieces that are in the park. So, which is really a blessing. And, you know, we've had some vandalism, so it really helps. When you put stuff in a public park, sometimes things happen, but it really helps with that partnership. We also try to be involved with anybody else in town and have lots of collaborations going and support each other. There's a big mural, Vision Lampasas, that does murals all over town, and we've really made a conscious effort to work with parks. I am actually the board chair for the city on the Parks Department. And so that kind of gives me, keeps my ear to the ground about what's happening out in the community. We do give our artists a stipend. The day that they install, we furnish lunch. We have a big party that night. The other thing that we do is we provide lodging so that they can come in and have, spend the night, relax a little bit. And we try to celebrate them as much as possible. Every year we do a new brochure and try to update our webpage, and that's probably more than you wanted to know. So,
well, that's an excellent start, and it gives us a lot of insight. No, that's perfect, Robin. Thank you. And I will say, you guys will kind of identify what you want to hear from each other. So if you want to make it like 3 key points that you want to present to each other, that's fantastic. And so Karen's next on my list. Thank you, Robin. Go ahead, please.
Hi. Just to let you know that Michelle, excuse me, Martha could not be here today, but Michelle Richardson is one of our public art project managers, and
Excellent.
She has joined us today, and she is incredible. She's an artist in her own right, and has worked with artists in different capacities, but has been with us for 3 years. And she can really give you the nitty-gritty details because she is out there with the whole thing. That I just want to share with you. I've been doing some writing, and Scott, I'm sorry I was going to get a hold of you, but I've been in budget mode trying to get ready for, yeah. So finally at 10:30 last night, I shut the computer down, couldn't get to it. But I just wanted to say that I've thought a lot about this and how important it is that what you're doing. And it is so great that you're taking the opportunity and the collaboration that's happening, especially with the different departments, because it really is going to take a team, because public art takes a team. People don't, from an artist, because I am an artist as well, it's not about, I'm going to do a piece of artwork and it's going to be great and you're going to put it in your park. Sometimes that happens, but more often, you have got to learn how to be a negotiator. You have to learn how to present yourself, to present your ideas. You have to be flexible. You have to give and take. You have to learn to listen. Because if an artist comes in, and I've seen this happen, an artist comes in and this is my idea and it's great, and the community comes in their neighborhood and they're like, we don't like that. That doesn't represent us. You have got to be able to step back and say, I am hearing what you're saying. I will go back to the drawing board. I mean, it's different. It's not because until you make it big and you're getting $34 million for your piece you're putting in the middle of, of Millennial Park. And still at that point, it was still a communicative, what do we need for our city? So it is not for every artist. There are some artists that just have that ability. So for this certificate, and I will write this up and send it to you, I think it's very important. This comes with my 30 plus years of being a nonprofit. What is your mission vision for this certificate? And what is your end goal? And what is going to get you there? So at the end of the day, when a student goes through this, what do you expect them to walk away from? With the tools? They're not going to learn everything, but it's going to give them a really good base at the beginning. And I'm thinking of things like conceptual ideas. How do I conceptualize my vision? How do I look beyond my work within the context of a community, a neighborhood, a park, a business, an entrance to a bank? How do I begin to put myself in that? And then, and I will go back because I'm preaching this. Business 101, how do you do a financial statement? we have a project where we bring, it's a class, one-day class, where artists come in to learn how to be a public artist. Our public art team ran this. And so artists sit down and they get this, here's your site. What are you going to do? How do you do the proposal? They go through this whole process. And at the end of the day, one of the groups was like, they forgot to pay themselves. Well, if they had have gone through that and submitted that to the city of Fort Worth and they had accepted it, they accepted it as it is. So you've got to take care of yourself. You have to make sure that you understand what a budget is and what a contingency is and how those are used. You have to understand that there could be money that is restricted. And what does that mean? And you can't go outside those bounds because then you're liable. That brings me to contracts. You need to understand basic how to read a contract. How do you find an attorney? There are attorneys and accountants for the arts in Texas, people that do donate, do pro
bono.
Thank you, pro bono work. But you need to be cognizant of that, because what is your legal liability? Working with the city of Fort Worth, we do installations. If that piece falls over, city is self-insured. You cannot sue a city, but you can sue an artist. And so you've got to understand in context of the legal ramifications and where the law is today and what you're stepping into, and are you willing to take that? A lot of artists have their own insurance, but you have to understand that. And what does insurance look like? What does liability look like? And then also on that, I think just a class on community engagement where they actually set up, where they go in and they do role play. And you have a devil's advocate, and then they play the devil. I mean, they toss that and learn how to present and film it. Let me tell you, I did this with my board one time. We had a mission, what's your elevator speech? And people are reluctant, but if you put a camera in front of those board members and say, okay, you have 3 minutes, talk about this organization. And then you play back, you begin to learn what you look like, what you sound like, what is important. And it's great role playing. You can destroy them at the end of the day, but just that rawness and the ability to say, I'm going to be very vulnerable because this is the place to be vulnerable. That's what's so great about education, is because it gives you the opportunity to fail so you can be better, because you're going to keep failing in your life. But let's get that experience of getting, failing, but not getting kicked down, realizing this is great tools and now I can move forward. So that was really important. And then I know I'm talking too much. I'm sorry. But I'll write the rest of it up and I'll get it out to you guys. But I'm excited about this.
Karen, I have a question.
Go ahead.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you open this class up to other artists, like from other cities?
Yes.
Is it just for Fort Worth?
No. It's for everyone. Anyone that sees value in it. And for instance, Fort Worth will start out with that as our base in that area, but it's wide open. Matter of fact, I think of it as for Texas, actually.
Great.
Hey, that's good to know. So,
Yeah.
So where do you publish that when it happens? And
Absolutely. That yes, we will. We'll get it out there in all the channels we have, but we also, that's where the partnerships will be so exciting, because if you guys, see, I'm sitting there thinking, well, part of it will be workshops through Fort Worth. You guys are already doing workshops. It's like that will just be part of what we, I'm going to say suggest, but part of the whole curriculum, because it's as it's already been said a couple times, this is a community endeavor. There's not one person that can do this. And as we're talking, like we're almost halfway through the meeting, and as we're talking, you guys have so much to share that we got to make sure you're totally a part of this. So I'll not talk any more of that. Did you have another, Brenda, did you have anything else that you were thinking of?
Yes.
no, Sarah might. Did you have any questions, Sarah?
Go ahead, Sarah. Use this as you go ahead, please go next.
I don't have any questions. I did want to clarify, because I think what Brenda, were you talking about the actual program, or were you talking about what Karen was mentioning?
I was talking about what Karen was mentioning, that the artist class that the city of Fort Worth offers to their artists.
Sorry.
No, I understand where you were coming from, Scott, and I thought, okay, but.
Sorry.
I'm going to let Michelle talk about that because she was part of that process.
Sure. Thank you, Karen. Hi, everybody. I'm Michelle Richardson, and I'm here on behalf of Martha. I will just share a couple of quick points. So, as Karen mentioned, we do have a kind of an all-day workshop that artists, come to, and that's specifically for emerging public artists in the DFW area, and that is a criteria that we require as an emerging artist who wants to apply for the pre-qualified list. The pre-qualified list is an open call that we put out around every 2 years. I think we'll be putting it out again sometime next year. At least that's the plan for now. But so that workshop really allows artists to, like Karen said, look at the budget to kind of understand the fullness of what it means to be a public artist. But since you've heard a lot about that, I'll share a little bit more about the overall pre-qualified list process. So really, there's a composition of a panel that includes an artist, a visual arts professional, and a Fort Worth Art Commissioner, and that can be expanded. There's at least those 3 categories, and that could be 5 people, 7 people. It kind of depends on how big the pool is. There are two different pools within the larger open call. That will be for the local emerging artists, and then the kind of national, Texas and national, more established public artists. So focusing on emerging artists, we encourage anybody to apply. You don't have to have done any sort of public art project previously. You just need to be able to demonstrate skillful use of materials and really show that you have a vision, that you have a body of work that is consistent, that you have ideas, that you have, as Karen was talking about, a sort of conceptual angle to your work, but also that you're, why do you want to be a public artist? What is it about the field that you're interested in? And hopefully there's some sort of community element or some reason why you are interested in serving others in this way. So for artistic merit, we really look at depth of concept and design capabilities, success of execution, and understanding for and appropriate use of materials. So once we have this list, me as a project manager, I'm working on all these different projects. I'm looking for artists that fit the community, as someone was mentioning. Excuse me, just a second. So I'm looking for people that have that, that kind of consistent body of work, people that are able to present themselves in a way that shows that they're ready to take this next step into the public art field, but again, tailored to each community. So me as a project manager, I essentially curate this pool of artists that the panel can then select from. So something else that I thought that Karen brought up that was an excellent point, talking about, budgets, contracts, role playing, all of these things. Martha and I talked about having, maybe it would be great to have some guest speakers. I know that when I was in professional practices, we had an accountant visit us, we had a lawyer visit us, we had a conservator visit us. We had all of these different professionals who came to share what it means to really, to step up your game, to move forward in your career, and who all you might need to maybe call to for one reason or another. So I think that would be really cool. And I also heard, I actually attended a art in public places class at UNT, not as a student, but as a visiting, as a guest. So just like I was talking about, but it was really interesting. That was led by Alicia Eggert, who's a sculptor in Denton. And they had 3 different projects that they worked on in that semester. They had one that was like a 1-day project that time was very short. They had one that was about a month project, and then they had one that was an extended project, and they all had different purposes. Something that would be temporary, something that would be permanent for a year, something that would be permanent forever. So this idea of the different ways that public art can be a part of the world and the different ways that artists can contribute to that, I think is really interesting, and those concepts that the artists were playing into. So I'll stop there. And anyway, wanted to just share that with you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And it sounds like I need to contact Alicia. She should be a part of what we're doing here. Absolutely. So Sarah, do you want to jump back in and talk to us a little bit about Keller?
Sure. So like I mentioned, we have a pretty small program. It's run out of our city manager's office. So it's you know, we don't have any full-time staff, but as far as how we select artists, we do have a public arts master plan. And we refer back to that all the time, no matter what type of call we're approaching. So I think most of the information, Scott, that we sent over to you was related to our Old Town Keller rotating sculpture program, which is all outdoors, but we also use our town hall as a rotating gallery, and we are attempting to install sculptures either within or adjacent to all of our public facilities. So in addition to that, you know, I mentioned several other programs and events that we do that we utilize. Usually callforentry.org is what we use for selecting artists. And we approach each project or program differently. But like I said, we always refer back to our master plan, and that helps us a lot also with writing our guidelines and things like that for each program. So we really have basically 4 different options when we select artists. We either use a design team approach where it might be made up of a few of our arts board members along with you know, someone from city staff. Like we're building a new senior center right now. So if we eventually get to the point of doing a new piece, mural, sculpture, whatever over there, we'll probably recruit somebody not just from the senior center staff, but also maybe one of the seniors that is participating in the activities there. We most recently used our limited competition method where we have an artist directory that we maintain of all the artists that we work with on any different project. And so our board selected just a handful of names from that list and extended an invitation for them to submit a proposal for a sculpture that's going over by our police department. We also have an open competition, pretty standard, you know, call for art method where it's open to anyone. We rarely do anything that we don't restrict to just Texas artists. There's enough talent in Texas, especially for our small program and our small budget. Most, you know, national artist, you know, someone outside of Texas, for the amount that we are able to pay either for a stipend or the purchase of a piece, it's not going to be worth it to them for the travel and the transportation costs. And we understand that. And like I said, there's enough talent in Texas that we've found anyway to supply our program with what we need. And then the last method that we use is direct selection. In my time here for about 6 years, we've never used that. Where we only commission one artist for a project, though we do have that option in our master plan. So, and then ultimately, depending on the dollar amount, all of the artists have to be approved by our city council. Now, we do have programs where the city council has designated the public arts board as the final word. So like our rotating sculpture program outside, the stipend is only $1,500. So we don't have to take every single one of those artist applications to council, but you know, anything over $50,000 that we're going to spend, that would finally go to our council with a recommendation by our public arts board.
Excellent. Well, that's you say you have a small program, but you guys are doing a lot. That's fantastic. Just because I'm saying Jana's on my screen is one of the things I see. Jana, you want to jump in and talk to us about Addison, right? And maybe she's frozen on my screen. All right, Jana, you'll have to come back if you can hear me because you are frozen on my screen. So I will jump to Amy. I know Amy was in early. Do you want to talk to us? All right. How about Matt? I'm hearing some flickering. Matt, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We sure can. Hello. Great.
So just to keep this brief, I guess where do you want me to start? You know.
Well, tell us who you are and who you're representing, and then just give us a little idea as far as you know, artists, what you expect from them, how you find them, get them, that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. So I'm Matt Kubo, project manager for Houston Arts Alliance. We are a nonprofit working with the city of Houston. So we are contracted by the city that has a department called the Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs. So we work kind of hand in hand with them. Basically, we handle just all the panels, selection, contracting, and execution of a city's public art projects that are funded primarily by CIP dollars. We also do private projects. We worked with an Australian contractor that did a kind of a condo building in downtown Houston recently, and they wanted some unique Houston artwork for every floor. So we worked with 26 Houston, mostly street artists. That's what they were kind of looking for more of a kind of an angle for that. So we did some 48 by 48 panels that we had made, 52 of them made, and so each artist has one floor. So when you get out of the elevator, to your left is one painting, to the right is one painting. So that's one thing that we did, kind of on a fairly quick turnaround time. That allowed us to really work with a lot of artists that either have not done any public artwork or were never really kind of interested in those kind of projects, but that was able to get their foot in the door. So, we're really happy about that one. And we kind of did that one a little unconventionally, because when we were looking around at a lot of these street artists, local ones that we wanted to, have as part of the project, trying to find contact with them, was not quite standard. So I would basically ask friends, and they would send me some suggestions, or I would see their work and see, the Instagram handle, and we would search them and then contact them through Instagram, and that was over half of them we had to do that for. And, I don't know how many of them would really, look toward, like a future, in public art, but, there was a big kind of learning curve with, the contracting process and what we were asking for, and the expectations that, we had. Like, you give someone a contract, sort of expect someone to go through it, but, oftentimes people don't. They'll sign it, and so, so a lot of them we had to kind of hold their hand and walk them through the process. And I think that turned out great. That's one of the things, smaller projects that we're, prouder of, but the impact was great. Even though it was in a private kind of residence, they did have a big opening, which we had all the artists at, and it's a very vibrant kind of community that the operators kind of building, that they have a yoga studio downstairs and a sushi restaurant, so they're kind of looking more for that kind of energy.
Can I ask you a quick question, Matt?
Yeah. Yes.
So that, let's just call that a unique demographic, and so you had to go out there and find these people. And we actually kind of started the beginning of the meeting talking about artists knowing the business side of art, and that's what makes it where they can fill out the contracts and show up and produce and all that kind of stuff. Did you guys run any issues with having people produce and show up and fulfill their obligations? And
we had one, which was this one artist, wasn't quite ready to deliver, on days that we needed things. So, we just kind of had to just keep on pressing him. Like, I need this date, and the paint needs to be dried on this date, and our installers are, showing up at this time. And, I wanted to have this for me last week, but,
just one. Just one.
Man,
that's clean living right there, buddy. I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, out of 26, I think that was good. They were all primarily, they were good in their street art games. So, if someone gave them like a mural surface, they could cover it. It just, they kind of did business, a different way, and kind of approach things a different way. So, I think that's all I wanted to share with the group.
That's fantastic. Experience. It shows, that's really interesting. Thank you very much. Janet, welcome back. So you kind of froze on us, but would you like to jump in and tell us about Addison, right?
Sure. So I'm the Parks and Rec director for the town of Addison. And we have a pretty extensive public art collection that's facilitated by the Addison Arbor Foundation. and I am their liaison that helps make all their projects happen. So the Addison Arbor Foundation is made up of a group of residents that their sole mission is to grow the public art collection in town. And they've done that in various ways. We have a lot of corporate offices in Addison that when they change hands, sometimes very significant pieces of public art like Fletcher Benton, Mac Whitney will be hauled off to the scrapyard. And the Arbor Foundation has actually been able to convert themselves by holding.
Oops, you're cutting out on me. Yeah, as far as your volume, is there? Try now. Let's see if you're back.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry, you were just kind of going in and out. But keep going, please. Sorry.
So they've built some great relationships where they've actually worked with the business community to have pieces of art donated to us. So that's one of the ways we're growing our public art collection. But we also have been installing works from artists from around the country that are specific to the site they're being installed in. Anything that's below $50,000, we have built what we call an IDIQ list. So we've gone through RFP process to identify artists that are pre-qualified to submit for those projects. And then anything that's over $50,000, we would do a full art on it. We just installed a piece by Art Fairchild, which was at the high end of that $50,000 range, but he was on our pre-qualified list and we kept that project below. Some things that we've learned, and I think that's my role on this board, is not all.
I can't hear it.
Yeah.
Let me turn my video off. Better if
No, you're still in and out. I'll tell you what. Hey, Jana, stay with us. I was gonna call on Brenda to see if she wanted to go elaborate a little more about Keller, and then we'll jump back on and see if your connection's a little better. Does that sound good? Okay. Brenda, I definitely wanted to make sure you were able to talk to us about, the artist selection. I know that you actually, you are involved in all these different sides, but I think you probably have some opinions about that, the criteria selection, the process for the artists.
Yeah, our art board is pretty involved in the selection. I do have to say though that for like our monthly shows that are bi-monthly shows, I'm sorry, that's not right. We have artists for 2 months at a time in our town hall, and those are artists that I have chosen, and I visit the artist and talk with them all, and sometimes I'll take our co-chair along with me, or anybody else I can get on the board to go. But most of the time that passed since we started that program in 2008, and since then I've selected them all. That's kind of as a artist and an art teacher, that's kind of my thing. So, but we, like Sarah said, we only use Texas artists, and we have a long list of artists that my file of artists I've interviewed just in Texas is phenomenal. And then the programs we've drawn in, we use a lot of societies and guild groups as well. So we bring those in, all Texas. We don't go out of state. And those, we don't pay any of those, but we allow them to sell their art, but we only charge a 20% commission, which I think is pretty fair. And our city staff does all the hard work, all the hanging, we used to videotape them all and have a walking tour, but the lady that did that left, unfortunately, which was a great program. But we feel very, for a city our size, we have a permanent collection of 15 pieces. We have the rotating program, which is 11 pieces, and it changes all the time. We do give them a stipend. We don't provide as much as lady from La Pasas, but she gave me some good ideas. We do have an art walk that we do in November, hopefully, which is the third year in a row that celebrates this rotating program. And we do pay a small stipend. You have plein air artists paint or sculpt during that art walk. But other than that, I think Sarah did a great job. Sarah does all the heavy lifting and all the hard work. So city staff, without city staff, there would not be an art program. And we feel very fortunate that we have a fund that the city has set up for us that helps fund it, which is helpful. And we're just very thankful that it's been well received, and hopefully we can continue.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Jana, you want to continue where you were?
So I switched internet connections. Is this better?
Okay. Yes, that sounds good.
Okay, awesome. The only thing that I was going to add is I think my role working with the Arbor Foundation is kind of twofold. They have a group of artists that they've had relationships with, but I noticed that they were starting to install multiple pieces of an artist's work in town. So I've really worked with them because I'm an artist also, to broaden their horizons. I've introduced them to new artists. So they've grown their kind of sorry.
You were coming back in. Keep going a little bit further. So you wanted to get a diverse your artists and not just go with specific. Please go ahead.
And then the other thing that I've done to work with them is just helping them understand what a turnkey installation is. Everything from doing structural engineering for footing designs to doing geotechnical work to find out what's in the soil, to working with the lighting designer to be able to give a turn.
Yeah. Sorry, you just went out on us.
Is there a chat that maybe she could type into to add those comments?
There is a chat which you can use. I'll tell you what, if there, Janet, just to kind of, because you kind of gave us a lot of different little things, if there's anything specific, yeah, go ahead, please, a suggestion, somebody? No? All right, let me, for some reason, you're going in and out, and I'm not sure why. I think everyone that's here now, Amy, I have her listed that she joined the meeting, but Amy, are you there? Okay, so, and the only reason that I even am continue to move, so we're at about 10:45. I only want to take a few more minutes of your time. So let me throw some things at you. Let me first make sure I ask, did everyone that's present, I only have 6 people on my screen, and I think we have more than that. Is everyone present? Is there anyone else that would like to add something to the discussion that we started?
This is Michelle. I'll just add, as project manager, and I think that I think I cut myself off before I said this, but you know, talking about budget and contracts and all of those things, that's I think for artists that can be a little overwhelming if it's your first time to do a public art project, and that's why we have the workshop, and you know, that's why you guys are, you know, starting this. But I think it's also fair to say that that's why there's a project manager, is to help the artists through that. So I hope that would be encouraging to emerging artists, that there are people that are on your side that are here to advocate for you and support you and help you see this project through. Not to say that you still shouldn't be practicing and learning about budget and contract and all those things, but that, I mean, specifically in our new public art master plan, we actually, one of our initiatives is to have a few specific projects that are only for emerging artists, where we are, you know, kind of nurturing those artists and helping them. These are local artists to kind of develop their career and, you know, try this public art field and things like that. So I think it's important to know that we as art administrators are here for them in that way. And in fact, we had several projects at the, I'm currently managing 3 different fire station projects. Each of them were within this kind of idea where it's only from the emerging artist list. it's a fair shot for anyone, whoever got that call would be someone who is from that emerging list, and it would be a new opportunity for them. As part of that, we had a micro residency where the artist spent 40 hours with the firefighters and went around and learned about their job, what they do, and how it's a lot more than, than fighting just fires. There's a lot more that they get called for. So that was a really great program initiative that we started. And so far it's been really successful just in terms of what the artists came away with and how that maybe impacted their design. So I think going back to the idea of community that Karen mentioned and the importance of having, of what that intent is with moving into public art. But I just wanted to make sure that, as much as there's also people to help you along the way. And I think that's important to note. So.
No, that's excellent, Michelle. Thank you. And I will tell you that just in the short time I've been thinking about this, the cities, you guys have become so sophisticated in what you're offering. And like you're saying, having project managers that are artists, so they're thinking like the artists, integrating the engineers, the architects, it's just fabulous. And hopefully what this program will do is we'll create the community so that you're feeding, that are working with you, that are coming in and they're supporting each other. I was sitting here thinking I could name 3 people that probably all of you have known because they're artists that work with each other that have helped with different projects, So at every install, you probably see 2 or 3 of the same artists that just go through the whole community. A couple things that I wanted to ask you about. One, talking about the whole community engagement. And Michelle, I was going to add to that's just like the whole idea of that it's just not art that's plopped down into a space, that there's actually a whole community around it. And the dialogue that occurs there is just fascinating. It's just a really fun part of all this. And it's also a complicated part of this. I keep thinking of the example, Picasso put a piece in Chicago and they hated it. And now, of course, they love it. So, there's a whole life cycle to public art and placing art and getting people. And as all of you have been a part of the discussion on selecting art and then introducing it to the community and then getting feedback from them, and people can be mean. Even as all of you are artists, people can be mean. And all right, so that's it's absolutely a thing. And also a lot of you are talking about emerging artists. And the way that I'm identifying emerging artists is 150,000 and less. And I think actually Martha, and I'm looking at her email, had mentioned that a lot of artists use fabricators. But what I'm distinguishing is if you keep it at a certain price point, and you might use 50,000 as this number, but you get to a certain amount for the commission, and those artists are probably going to have to do the work themselves because otherwise they can't afford to do it. You could go and get a fabricator to do it, but then they're getting all the profits. So that's where the price point kind of dictates that it's an emerging artist. And if we can figure out a way to nurture, support, and cultivate those emerging artists and give them, a pathway to what we're sitting here talking about, public art and city commissions and public commissions, that's the service that we're hoping we provide. Last thing I'll say around, yeah, please go ahead, please.
I was just gonna follow up on your comment about artists. If they have something fabricated, then they don't get paid. But I would also just clarify that at least with the Fort Worth Public Art Program, artists receive a 15% design fee simply for the idea. And then if they were to fabricate it, that would be artist labor, which is separate from the design fee. So if they were to go out to a fabricator, they still get paid for that idea. And it's, depending on the budget, 15% is, a really nice amount. So I think that I would just keep that in mind when talking with students about how, what they will get for the work that they put in.
We're still, I always think of this industry kind of still at the Wild West. I've been involved with a couple different industries, like the experiential learning industry. When I first started that, it was the Wild West, and everyone was just doing whatever they wanted to make it work, and they tried to standardize it. And actually, scuba diving was the same way back in the day. It was pretty much Wild West, and then they started standardizing it. So I feel like that's kind of where we are. But there was a time that even that I was placing art where the city would say, here's how much we'll pay you, tell us when it's there, and then we'll give you a check. And now getting involved with the budget, as you're talking about, helping the artists kind of figure out what they will make and how they would make it, and even to the point of what they're wearing on site, hard hats and that kind of stuff. So we definitely are moving very fast forward to good stuff. But there still are programs where it's, you're trusting that the artist knows what the heck they're doing and that it's going to stand up a week later. But that's why it's built. And sorry, Karen, were you going to say something?
I was going to, and I'm sorry, it's freezing up. But I did have one little short thing.
Please go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay. I love the fact that you're talking about kind of, the Wild West and the fact that it's, moving in. This is just me, big picture, and I think it's very important as part of this introduction to this program. When students come in, they need to understand that art, the industry of culture, is a viable industry in this country. It is $8.5 billion industry. The GDP is over sports. Okay. This is massive. And public art is part of that. Just alone in Fort Worth is $450 million generated in this city alone in a year. Of course, this year is going to be a little different, but and public art is a part of that. So they're entering into an industry that they can make a living. They can be an artist. They can be an art administrator. They can be a project manager. They can work in a nonprofit. They can work in a city. I love the fact that cities are involved with the arts and they do support it. It's wonderful to hear what's happening with Keller. That the city, it's just such great news. So it is an important part of the fabric of a community, and an artist can become very engaged and be a great citizen within that community and make a difference. And they need to feel good about that. Because people are like, oh, you're going to major in art, what are you going to do? You can't do any. There's a lot you can do. And so we just want to continue to bolster those students and let them know that it's a great career.
Well, let me tell you, from your lips to Dean Ansorge and Dean Guides, that went straight to President Jordan. What you just said, as far as the industry, the opportunities, the pathways for the students, because ultimately that's what this is for. And if we can make that connection more direct and easier, then we've done our job. So that's perfect. And I think someone else was going to add on. I heard someone say.
Add something to something that Scott said earlier about the sculptures that, like the Picasso, that nobody liked. Well, a couple of years ago, we have a sculpture walking trail, and with Parks and Rec, they actually funded it. It was a gift, but we installed some four anamorphic sculptures. And, when they first went up, the people hated them. We get all kinds of negative comments. But now I find when I walk this trail, I can't tell you the number of times I come across people stopping and explaining to the other people what these are. And they've learned to love them. They really have, because they get excited explaining it to somebody else. And so people do change. And some of the rotating ones that we've had in when we first started the program, we had a wonderful piece by, now I'm losing his name, but the city, people made fun of it online, and yet somebody was always adding to it and helping decorate it for different holidays, etc. So they bought into it, and I think they were really disappointed when it left. And so people, it may take them a while, but we consider part of our mission to educate them. And all these different varieties of art are educational. So, and it gives it, and we do, sometimes we do surveys asking them, but if we went with what this community wanted, we would end up with cowboys and Indians, and that's about it. So we have to force them to open their minds a little bit.
Brenda, to just respond to what you're saying, we could spend 2 hours on this topic alone, and that is the politics involved. Because what you just talked about, that it takes time and people have to grow to love it or understand it or teaching them about it. politics doesn't seem very flexible with that or open to having that time frame. And I know I've worked with different projects where the politics were brutal and they can shut a public art project down in a minute. So that's a whole topic itself. So that leads me to the next thing, because I have 3 minutes or 2 minutes. Let me say this. I would love to develop a conference, and it wouldn't be a conference for me. It would be that you guys bring ideas and you get something out of it. Now, I did a city meeting a couple of years ago, and one of the things I brought was artists to bring maquettes so that you could meet the artists and see their concepts, and then they could shake your hand and meet you. And I thought that was a good idea, and the artists seemed to like it, and the people that attended seemed to like it. So that's like something we could do with the conference. But if you think there's a reason that we should get together, you should get together and share ideas and share what you're doing, and it would benefit you. Let's start that conversation. So send me emails. Let's start the conversation. And that's what I can do. I'm an organizer. I can facilitate this stuff. I can make it happen. And with Tarrant County South Campus as our foundation, we've got plenty of places to support that. So keep that in mind. If it's something that you would like to do, let me know, and I will follow your lead on that. The only other thing I have, which actually I don't really, I wrote down notes from what you guys said. I will make a transcript from this. Thank you, Sarah, for being here. And I'm wrapping up right now. This conversation will continue. What you guys did for me is you participated in this advisory committee, and now we can submit the proposal for this CNI public arts program, and we can keep it moving forward. And we will meet when you think we should meet. And, so if it's once a year or twice a year, whatever, it really is something. If it's not serving a purpose, I know there's no purpose, there's no point in doing it. So it's for you, but it also benefits Tarrant County. And once again, thank you very, very much for being a part of this. And let's continue the conversation. You have my email. I'll send out contacts after this meeting. And Dean and Serge, did you want to say something?
I did. Just to make a note that the college generally likes us to touch in with the advisory committees once or twice a year. So we will probably reach out to all of you, but certainly if you would like to meet more often than that, we would welcome that at any time as well.
Excellent. Thank you. Did anyone else have a closing statement that they wanted to make before we all hit our leave button?
I just want you to know that I can speak for the Arts Council and for Michelle and Martha. I know that things are kind of crazy right now, but we would like to be a part. Anything we can do to support this.
Thank you very much. And Brenda, were you saying something?
I want to say thank you for doing this. We appreciate it.
It's my passion and my love, and I come from many different angles on this, so thank you. All right.
I appreciate it also. I've learned a great deal. I think it's going to help us over here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys have a great day.
I would like to make one final comment. I moved here from the Chicago area about 3 years ago, and one of you, and I'm sorry, I can't remember who, mentioned that the communities would want cowboys and horses. That is what I was expecting in Fort Worth when I moved here, and I have been overwhelmingly thrilled with the art scene in Fort Worth as well as the surrounding communities. There is a wealth of talent and a love for the arts that, I suppose because of stereotypical depictions of Fort Worth, I didn't expect, and I've truly been thrilled. So thank you all for what you bring to our communities.
Absolutely. You guys have a great day, and we will talk soon. Thank you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.